too sleepy from pulled pork sandwiches. Oh my goodness, and macaroni and cheese. Thank you. All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kuvakas. I am an instructor at Hartnell College. I am an adjunct instructor, actually for a few different colleges. That's the one in the California Community College District. I have been teaching for just over 12 years. I started in teaching high school and then moved on to community college while I was living in Georgia with my husband, who was in the Army. He's since retired. We moved to the Monterey Bay area. I took on with those schools, and then my husband decided to get a new job in San Diego. But when I was telling my bosses at Hartnell, they said, how about we'll just put your classes online? And I thought, what a dream come true. I've been using online components and been completely online for almost 3 years now. But I started doing online supplemental material even back 12 years ago. I was one of those in the 10 to 15 year category. I still find resistance at some schools to incorporating things online. My background is in, wait for it, environmental biogeochemistry. How's that? Not necessarily the track you're going to take as an online instructor. I'm the only person from my graduating class from grad school at UC Santa Barbara to go into teaching. But because my background touches so many disciplines, I knew then I was a systems person, and here I am, I'm still a systems person. I want to communicate. I want to be there with you, sharing ideas, collaborating. I love this whole systems design. I have a 9-year-old son that I homeschool in my spare time. Okay. What was that? What's that exactly? He's spectacular. He didn't fit in any mold either. Like, he just kind of is a little piece off of me where he's just like, I don't fit in any box. I'm going to major in everything. So we definitely spend a lot of time sharing ideas and collaborating. Maybe not doing traditional testing. This morning's keynote was really hitting home for me, I'm sure as it did for a lot of you, like inspiring you to think outside of the boxes that we put ourselves in, and certainly touched me as well. I love teaching my students. I love working with other educators, and working together is what collaboration is all about. If we're going to collaborate here together, can we do that online? We have an online contingent with us today. I'd like to say hello and good afternoon. Sorry you missed lunch. And I'm actually going to go back to school in August and go get my EDD because they're doing a group collaboration project as well. I found one that fit my box. So I'm really looking forward to it. Let's see what we've got next. Here's our agenda for the day. We're going to talk about why do we collaborate? Why is it important for students? What do students and instructors think about collaboration? We have a lot to say. Overcoming obstacles. Has anybody ever encountered some obstacles in trying to get collaboration in an online class, even in a face-to-face class? Yes. Different types of projects. We're going to do a brainstorming session when we get there. Tools and design and evaluation, how important those things are to successfully building a collaborative project so that it'll run more smoothly than maybe what you've done in the past. And then we'll have a summary and a quick discussion. So why should students collaborate? I picked this image because I really like that the books are like a barrier between the students. Like, usually education is isolating. You know, you go in, you have your own learning experience, and then you leave. Okay? But why should we encourage them to collaborate? First of all, it makes you more marketable. Okay? For your students, if they have already worked on projects together, either face-to-face or in an online capacity, then they have these skills where they've had to pick team leaders. They've had to identify their own strengths and weaknesses in these projects. So it definitely makes them more marketable. Helps them make connections, especially in an online classroom where connections can be difficult to make at first. When you can do a collaborative project, it lets them feel less isolated. So for sure we want them to make connections. It proves that school can be more than memorizing. How about that? I mean, you know, my son was reading by 18 months old. He thought that reading came naturally to everyone. Okay, he can memorize anything. Okay, you should see him with Pokemon cards. Okay, that's come back for all of you in like a half generation above me. Pokemon is back. There are 600 of them now or something like that. There was 151, I understand. But he can memorize all of that, but is that smart? Is that learning, or is it just memorizing? When you collaborate on a project, you're really doing more than that. It obviously has real-world applications, and it helps students to learn more because students have things to teach each other. Okay? It lets students help each other through the process. All right, so if we talk about why should students collaborate, what is it from our perspective? It helps us to encourage meaningful interactions between our students and ourselves, as opposed to how many of you are online instructors? Oh, almost everyone in this room, wonderful. Interactions on the discussion board. How many of you put guidelines such as your response must be at least 150 words? Yeah, lots of nodding of yes. You must interact with at least 3 of your colleagues. I go with colleagues, by the way. I think that's respectful. Those interactions are often not extremely meaningful. Let's just be honest. I'm meeting the word count. I'm meeting the requirements for the class so I can get that point for interacting. It builds a community of inquiry. My favorite phrase from last year's OTC, we talked about community of inquiry, really asking questions together, helping you to find ways to connect in a way that you didn't expect when you walked into your classroom, okay, into your online classroom. Helps you to set professional standards. My last presentation at OTC last year was on having a welcoming classroom, making sure that you weren't wearing the t-shirt that says it's on the syllabus. Any of you know anyone like that or want to admit to being someone like that? Like, if you have a question, it's on the syllabus. Like, don't ask me. But think about having a way to set professional standards through this project. Like, you are expected to X, Y, and Z. You are expected to interact with your colleagues. Here's the format, because if they don't have the format, how are they going to know how to do it? Here's good language to use. Okay, so having this collaborative experience lets you actually guide them through a professional exercise, as opposed to always correcting, right? We're all sick of correcting. And then, of course, the higher order learning skills that can come. Even in a 100 level class, you can encourage higher order level thinking skills. You're familiar with Bloom's taxonomy. It's more than just regurgitating and all of that. You're really analyzing and synthesizing. When people work together, those things inherently happen. So we're all encouraged to do that. So we couldn't have any more reasons if we tried. Oh, we probably could. But what do students think about collaborating? When you say group projects, hey everyone, there's a group project. Yeah, laughter throughout the room. And actually, there's laughter in this room. There's not laughter in your classroom when you say there's going to be a group project, right? Here's a typical, it's really just busy work. It's just a box I'm checking, right? How about this one? You've heard this one. I always get stuck doing all the work. I kind of was that girl. If someone slacks off, we all get the same grade. It's totally not fair. I have a teenage stepdaughter as well, so I can do the voice when I want to. I'd rather just do it myself. Like, can't I just do my own project? I'll meet all the same criteria, okay? And my hours are crazy. I can't meet up. There's just no way. I don't have time. Okay. Any others that stand out that I've missed? This is a pretty good overview, but any others you'd like to share that just stick with you? Which one do you think is the most common? Not fair. Yeah, it's not fair, right? Gosh. Well, here's where I got the bug with collaboration. I came from a hard science background in geology from UC Santa Cruz. I was the only geologist at UC Santa Cruz who did not do a fieldwork project for her thesis, because I'm not like a dirt girl, okay? I wanted to be in the lab working on something technical. That's where I wanted to be. So when graduate school opportunities started to float around, everybody who was in the field had many opportunities. And luckily a school came up called the Bren School of Environmental Science and Management. and they do a group thesis. Now to me, as a systems person, I'm like, yay! The reality, of course, is all of these things are true, right? Even if you want to do it, it's all true. There were many days I just wanted to do it myself. I had to work with 3 colleagues to come up with an 80-page thesis. You know, that's a project. So whenever my students complain or have some of these, it's like, well, it's actually real-world experience. I've done it. You can do it. Has anybody else worked on a large collaborative effort? Just a couple. It's very meaningful. It's hard to explain how the successes can come when you're telling someone starting out how to get it going. What do instructors think? Well, I think this image just is kind of how many of us feel like, please. There are some schools that require a collaborative component in certain fields, so instructors have to come up with an assignment that does this. I'm more of a, I look forward to doing it, but I've made that face many, many times. What do you think about collaborative projects? You're here, so I'm hoping that you're interested in them. Anybody want to share? I would love 2 or 3 of you. Appreciate it. Yeah. So I love that. So you wouldn't want your students' first experience in working together on a project to be at their job where they could stumble and fall in a way that would have some sort of consequence that was unintended. You give them the space to do that now. Hey, look, you're building that skill now. They'll thank you for it later. Yes?
I'm taking a master's in organizational management, and it's primarily online. And the interesting thing was in the 2 courses in leadership, the one had a huge, collaborative effort, and the other one didn't. And I was thinking back, how much did I learn about leadership from the course where there wasn't collaboration?
Oh my.
So I think that's just not for a leadership class, but really anything where you're interacting with other people. And I think it's really essential. Whether you like it or not.
I want to add that.
Students like it. I think like one of the people on one of my teams, ended up turning in. We caught her turning in a plagiarized part of our term that we broke into parts, and I caught her and I had to handle that, and that was a great leadership exercise.
Sure.
And I just think of like, what if I wouldn't have done that group project together? I wouldn't have learned all of that. So I think it is not a function of whether or not the students like it. It's irrelevant. It doesn't produce the result.
Excellent. So the point that you were making was that, this is where I practice my summarizing skills into the microphone, that working on some sort of collaborative effort, no matter what field you're in, inherently has value in that you learn leadership skills, whether you're the team leader or not. You're monitoring each other, you're reviewing each other's work, and that's another whole skill set. And that without that, there's really less learning going on because you're learning different things about how groups work and how the material is covered. How did I do? Not too bad. Okay. Yes. Fantastic. Oh, so finding ways to recreate a positive group experience has happened in a face-to-face class in an online environment. I can speak to that very quickly and say it will be transformed into something else. It's very hard to do a direct correlation just because they won't have that face-to-face time. But the tools that we'll talk about this afternoon should give you some starting points, I'd like to believe. Yes? Oh my goodness, yes.
Why in the world would you want to work alone now? And then we do a short session on how you move
Right. So explaining that there's never going to be a time in your life, especially in certain applied fields, where you're working alone. You have to learn how to work together. It's not whether or not you like it or not. It actually is the real world. I have time for one more. Sure. The idea that a group project inherently has accountability built into it, which strengthens then the effort that students will put forth, helps with their critical thinking and things like that. Were there any comments online, Blaine? Okay. Not too many people. Okay. So I appreciate all of you sharing your thoughts and ideas, and we're going to have another little chat in just a little while. There are a lot of concerns, however, from a student perspective, or from a teacher's perspective especially. You know, it seems like you can make one wrong turn and the thing's going to blow up. I speak from experience on that. And one of the class that I teach, which is an environmental science class, I thought it would be brilliant if I proposed an environmental problem and then assigned groups where they could then work on coming up with ideas to solve that environmental problem. No big stress there, right? Because the government could do it and all the NGOs in the world. But I thought, let's just see. You each tackle it from a different perspective. So much headbutting, running into walls. And so every term, I modify, modify, modify. And because it's not just one straight path, okay? The key, the four keys I think that exist is make sure the assignment has a purpose. Again, for me with the environmental science project, it's not that I'm expecting them to solve this problem. I'm asking them to look at it from different perspectives. That's one type of project that gives it purpose, because if I'm coming from it from an economic standpoint, it's going to be very different than if I'm coming from an ecological standpoint, obviously. And maybe your field of study doesn't necessarily have that cut and dry distinction that's pretty clear here, but you could find a way to give your assignment purpose to start with. Another concern that happens a lot is this idea of social loafing. Have you heard that one before? It has to do with bread, but it's like kicking back and doing nothing. I was going to say in a beach chair, this is a lovely lady up here in a beach chair. You can't see her, but she's not social loafing at all. But I imagine like a fruity drink and kicking back in your beach chair. But the social loafers are those that kind of hang out in the background, say one thing maybe every once in a while, and at the end freak out and send in possibly plagiarized material or anything like that. And then how are they going to get the same grade? Some ideas for working in groups, just a couple suggestions that I had. If you're not doing a big overall project, but your ideal situation is more collaboration throughout on different projects, one idea to kind of stop this social loafing is to switch up the groups every time. It can get annoying for the students because they start to feel comfortable with each other, but again, this is the real world we're dealing with. And if you pick them up and put them in a different social situation every week or every other week, maybe the social loafing, maybe they'll realize they're the ones with something to say in this group. And it'll start to give them the confidence. Please feel free to come in, it doesn't offend. Another suggestion is another consideration is why might they be a social loafer? Are they inherently someone who doesn't participate, like looking into how often are they checking in, how often are they doing their other work, and then addressing that individual that way, as opposed to just being like, oh, that kid's just a slacker, because we've all thought that about certain people whether we want to or not. But collaboration inherently picks out the social loafers and kind of you can help to guide them then. Especially if you're moving them every week or every other week and you're like, I noticed this week you didn't participate as much, you know, and maybe picking up some of their participation. All right, well, remember one of the student concerns is my schedule is so busy. Oh, I don't have any time. Okay, I work full time, I homeschool my kid, I'm going back to school. My husband has horrible hours at work. I got it too, I get it. So we need to really build with the asynchronous tools, you know, the ones that don't require face-to-face time. Some of your groups, some of your collaborators might crave that face-to-face time, and we can give them tools to do that, absolutely. But having the asynchronous tools that are effective and aren't just email is really something we can give to them to address that concern. And finally, and almost most importantly, having a meaningful evaluation of the projects or the collaboration. Is it just 150 words? Is it 3 check-ins a week? What are you really wanting to evaluate here? And again, listening to Stephen Downs this morning, I was just like, I know. What's the metric for that? How do you evaluate that? Some really important points. So this is the fun part. We're going to talk about just types of projects. This is a brainstorming list. My slides are available online. You don't have to write that fast. Okay. I submitted them on time for like the first time ever in all my presentations. They kind of start with, I know it was really impressive. We start with some of the more traditional, a written report. Okay, that's pretty traditional. A wiki. So the students actually build a wiki. I've done this in my chemistry course. Oh, I teach environmental science, chemistry, geology, and physical geography online. All of those with labs, because it can be done. If there's a will, there's a way. Wiki. In chemistry, we have them build a wiki because they get so stuck on problems, so stuck on solving what's this concept and all of this. When they find a resource, they get credit for contributing to the course wiki. And they don't just post and run, they post and summarize. Think of that, first of all. Talk about synthesizing information. And then they're collaborating together. So, hey, I really liked your link here. I found this other one that really helps. Or, hey, that worked with this problem. They're collaborating against their will, but they're doing it, right? But under the guise of, look, you're helping each other. I don't know everything. I don't know all what's out there. You guys are the masters at this. Web pages, e-portfolios. Has anybody heard of an e-portfolio? A few, quite a few. That's, to me, I teach a lot of 8-week courses, so e-portfolios are kind of touching, or a little too fast for me. I think if you have a good 16-week class, e-portfolios can be really valuable as they share what they're doing over time. They host it. Talk about personal learning environment, right? They're hosting their own information and sharing it with each other, okay? And at the end, if we have time, I would love to pull up some websites and give you some web addresses. So we'll do that at the very end. Yes?
If you had to prioritize which one you definitely suggest to start with.
So the question was if I had to prioritize, which would I pick? Okay, well, I'm a science dork. Like, honestly, my preferences are going to be very different from yours, which is why I provide so many. I love the group quiz, where they work together to come up with a quiz for their colleagues. So a group, and then they present it to the other groups. So it's a review quiz. I love that idea. I think that goes across a lot of educational systems. Again, I push lab reports. When I was in college, we did labs with partners. And when I brought my lab classes online, I was like, how the heck am I going to do that? So I had them collaborate in Google Docs, and they work together on a lab report. And what's my other favorite one? Oh, goodness. Probably lesson plans. Because again, since I came late to education from science, teaching something to someone else is the best way to learn it. Okay? When I started out as a teacher teaching high school, I was teaching at a school for kids with babies and drug problems, and they were like the kids who dropped out and come back. And they had me teaching all the sciences. So like, here, you're totally going to teach human anatomy. And I was like, I've never taken human anatomy. Living things scare me. That's why I like rocks and dirt, all of those things. I don't do living things. So I had to learn it to teach it, right? I had to. So when the students are then, you say, okay, well, this subject this week is, oh, I'm going to come up with one. How about neoclassical architecture? How about that? That's a thing, right? My husband just took an art history class. It's got to be a thing. So you're going to teach your colleagues about neoclassical architecture. Here's the format I want it in. Provide a couple examples, maybe just one, of a successful lesson plan with guidelines, and they work together to build a lesson plan. But then think of all the synthesis that has to go on for them to come up with a way to teach it to someone else. I had a colleague at Monterey Peninsula College who did that, and then have them record themselves teaching as extra credit. So like to their sister or their friend. How much fun would that be for some people? You know, some people might really dig that, the opportunity to share. So I hope that that helps. Yeah, Lynn.
So Glenn from CSU Stanislaus says it's good to accommodate both preferences, but requiring documentation for all interactions in a central place helps you keep track of who's doing what.
Well, we are definitely going to address that when we get to the upcoming slides where we talk about how to monitor and evaluate participation. Because I agree, that's a real concern, not only for students who are worried, quote, I'm going to have to do it all, but also for instructors. What rubric am I going to use to evaluate? And that's why I said this is the fun part, where we get to be like, oh, think of all the things we could do. We could make websites and videos. Yeah, Blaine.
Good old Dan Barnett. Collaboration is tricky. Do students actually edit or delete the work of others in the group so the group ends up with a polished page or wiki entry? But there's great reluctance on the part of students to do this. So is collaboration the adding of individual resources to a wiki page, for instance? Maybe so, but is that real collaboration? It's vexing.
It's vexing, ... I agree, Dan. I do like the ... I can speak to the fact that when my students have worked on wikis, that particular assignment is a post and run. It is a post and then a comment. It is not a deep, meaningful collaboration. This is a collection of resources for students trying to solve chemical problems when their brains are exploding because they're trying to do a 16-week class in 8 weeks. Okay, so that's definitely a post and run. However, I have also supported wikis for my environmental science class where they do have editing capabilities, but they also have project titles where they are given roles. They pick their own roles. We'll talk about that in a couple slides. Where then there is a report manager or a report coordinator who it is that person's job specifically to edit and his or hers only. So do you like this slide? Traditional online tools. Remember when monitors were that big? I saw a movie from like 1990 the other day and I was like, oh my God, there's like these monitors. You can it was Robert De Niro was like leaning on it. It's like a giant podium of a monitor. It probably is. So, I'm so sorry. Emails, threaded discussions, text-based chatting, document sharing, blogs, and wikis. These are the things we've maybe been working with for a couple years. Maybe you're just getting your toes in the water here and you haven't done it too much. But these are the things that people like myself who've been trying to make this work have been struggling. Like, okay, well, you need to CC me on every email. Yeah, that's never going to work. You need to blog every day. That's also not going to work. So what can we use then? These are some of my favorites. Google Drive. That's probably... does anybody mess with Google Drive for school yet? 5? Not really. Dropbox is like a drop and grab. I would say Google Drive is more, hey everybody, let's work on this document, and we're typing at the same time. You and me and you, and we're all working on it together, all at the same time. Free. Most community colleges agree with it. A lot of them have gone to Google emails. Anybody school use Gmail? Mine does. So they already have accounts, and most people today, that's a generalization, many people today have a Gmail account so they can access it immediately. Basically, you go on to Google Drive, you make a new document, and then I send it to you, and you, and we can all access it at the same time and write on it at the same time. Also, the benefit of Google Docs, which is part of Google Drive, is that it keeps record of who changed what when, that everyone can see, and can revert. You can go, oh, I want that piece back. Click. Takes 0 effort. So when we're talking about accountability, there are empty chairs. Please feel free to come in. It's that kind of day, right? So Google Drive. The reason I put Google Drive is because they also have something similar to Excel, something similar to PowerPoint, where it's all free, it's all accessible, it's all open. You just need a Gmail account. So Google Drive is a great start. Blackboard Learn Plus has a lot of things built in that we'll talk about. CCC Confer. Does anybody utilize that for their classes? Right on. I'm big fans of CCC Confer. I don't get to use it for all my classes because I only do one with the community college. So unfortunately, I can't use it for all that, but I do get to use the Blackboard tools. CCC Confer allows students to meet up and talk. It records your sessions for free. They're accessible as long as you're a member of California Community College District. You can set up the meetings for them. Can they set up their own? I think they can. And then they can access it in the archives for free. Yes?
One thing I like about the CCC Confer is that when I'm teaching like operations program, I can actually hand my desktop over to them.
Yes.
And so I can say, now you try it.
So what was mentioned is that through CCC Confer, it has the thing where you can share your desktop and actually allow the other members of your group, whether it's your class or if it's a collaborative effort among students, they do have access to the desktop at the same time. Yes? And post questions and raise hands and do all these great things. It is absolutely free. They have tutorials online. If you have not messed with CCC Confer yet, please do. And they're here. If you need contact with an actual person, come see me after. I know who to talk to. And then there's this one. Has anybody seen this one before? MindMeister. Okay. MindMeister. It's a free application. They have it for Windows. They have it for Android. They have it for iOS, for Apple products. And it's a brainstorming program. Okay, so again, I'm a systems girl, right? My brain is running a million miles a minute all the time. I see all the connections. I know who's wearing a white shirt because I already put you all together in a map in my brain, right? It's how my brain works. Your brain might not work like this, but it's an excellent collaborative tool. Again, it pays attention to who is touching what when. Like it records all of that for you. And then it helps you just to organize your thoughts, because if students are trying to collaborate on, let's say, a 3 or 4 week project, okay, and they can't phone call each other because somebody's in Afghanistan and somebody's in California and somebody's on the East Coast and somebody's in Kentucky, okay? They cannot all get on the phone at the same time. Here, they can still brainstorm together, okay? I say, hey, peer review your work, and you're like, oh my gosh, peer review, that would be great because I have this assignment. And I know, I thought of that too. And hey, but what if we do this? And it contains all of it in one beautiful map space. And again, if we have time at the end, I have the websites ready to go to show you, but I'm trying to get through the resources first. So this is where I was going to break out and do all those, but we're going to do them at the end. Okay, ready? So how can we set it up for student success? I think this is key. Rubrics and responsibility. So having very clear guidelines and clearly defined roles. Okay, clear guidelines and clear roles are essential to success. If they don't know what you want, they can't give it to you. If they don't know what they're supposed to do, how can they do it? It sounds really simple, but let's say I want them to look at this environmental problem and come at it from all these different angles. What does the end product need to look like? Well, for my class, they get to decide. They can make a video, okay? They can write a report, or they can make a web page. So I'm getting the visual graphics. I'm trying to hit as many learning styles, right? We all try to do that. Okay? So we want to have that accessibility for them, but we need to give them very clear parameters. Sounds easier than it is. And the responsibility part, having clearly defined roles for students to select from. Again, maybe not again. So it's up to you if you're going to assign people to groups or if they self-select. For those of you who do group projects, how many of you let them self-select? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we got 7. How many of you assign them to groups? We're at about half and half, believe it or not. So it really is up to the instructor's choice, I think. I have not seen any data either way that's like, this is the only way to go for student success. When I was in the face-to-face classroom, I would in like a 16-week class, I would be like, well, you and her are fighting, so I'm not going to put you in a group together. And I know that guy hates that guy, so I'll just keep them apart. And I would be like, and that person reads really well, and I would get to know them and then like do a socioeconomic perspective of the class. And yeah, I don't do that anymore. I'm sure there's at least one or two of you guilty of the same thing. I just want to point out. Yes. Ooh. Wow, the idea that they could fire someone from their group. What a fantastic idea. Yeah. Oh, I kind of dig that. Oh, yeah. Very interesting. So what was being shared is that with one experience was if a student was fired from the group, they had to do the whole project by themselves, starting with that new timeline. And the other suggestion was perhaps they went and were just assigned to another group and had to fit into the dynamics there. That's a very interesting take on that. When it comes also to once the groups are formed, then they have labels. Who hates labels? Blaine's raising his hand, but not for that. But having a team leader, having a project manager, whatever title you want to put on it, if you're working on a large-scale collaborative effort, it's good to know who's in charge. I like putting one person in charge of being the liaison. I don't want 5 emails. She's doing this, and he's not doing his work. I want one person. This is, and communication will be professional. Here's an example of professional communication. When I get emails from students that just say, I don't know what problem to do, I write back, good afternoon, Thomas. Let me tell, and I model good behavior. I don't spark back, right? But the idea is it's an opportunity to give them professional standards. Was there someone who had a question or comment?
Glenn, a comment. Continuing the real-world relevance concept, in my opinion, assigning them to groups mirrors their future group experience better than self.
I think that's a fantastic point. That when they are assigned, as opposed to getting to choose. I like that. Keeping records of work. For whom is this like the biggest part, the biggest concern? No one? Oh my gosh. Okay, for like 2 of you. All right, well that's awesome. So many of the Web 2.0, I'm making little quotes with my fingers, Web 2.0 tools do have that built in. Again, Google Docs within Google Drive, it tracks what you do, date, time, and who touched it. You can't ask for any more accountability than that, in my opinion. Within Blackboard, again, that all tracks. With wikis, it tracks. Today's tools are built like that. It's no longer a concern. Where the concern lies is how often do you have to go check it, right? Because that's a pain. Let's just be completely honest. But records are available now. It's not the same as it used to be with CC me on every email. Give the tools to the students. Give them what they need to succeed. Again, if I want them to behave professionally, I'm going to treat them professionally. If I expect them to correspond with me in a certain way, I will say, here's what your correspondence should look like. Giving them very clear guidelines, very clear tools is how you're going to get happier students and a happier, more positive experience for you in evaluating their work. Oh, scheduling. Being realistic about how long this is going to take. Here's what I encounter a lot in chemistry. Homework's due on Sunday evening, 8 p.m., email from student, let's call her Sally. It'll say, I have been working on problem 18 for 4 hours. Now, does anybody in here ever think that I would want a student to spend 4 hours on one problem? Heavens to Murgatroyd, no. In my syllabus, like at the very top, do not spend more than 20 to 30 minutes on any one problem. Please reach out. Okay? If they don't know that that's what I expect of them, what are they going to do? So I have to be very clear with my scheduling, even per problem scheduling. Okay? So how long should you put into working on your team charter. Ooh, a team charter, what a great idea. Well, everybody needs to kick in maybe 20 minutes. Someone's going to put it together and email it to me. 1 hour total. If you're spending more than that, there's a problem. Let me know. Okay? The project shouldn't take you more than 3 hours per week, but it will be 3 hours per week. Expect it. Okay? And this is where the wiggle room is going to come in. You're going to try it. It's going to suck. You're going to try it. It'll get better. They're still angry. You're going to try it. It's going to take a couple go-rounds, in my experience. Start early. Practice often. I cannot hit this one enough. Okay? Having them collaborate in week 1, they don't like it at all. But I will tell you, when they start working together and then it's expected of them, boy, you can give them something simple. Hey, come up with a slogan for the class. You and these 3 people, try and come up with a slogan. Or a summary of what you think this class is going to be. Or the best thing about Hartnell College. Okay? Collaborate on this little thing in the beginning and share it with the class. Start early. Practice often. Have the assignments grow in size. If you're doing 16 weeks, you can put 3 or 4 really meaningful collaborative projects in there. You know? There's nothing that says it has to be one giant one, and there's nothing that says it doesn't have to be meaningful. We said meaningful. We want it to have value. Or else they'll be like, oh, it's busy work. I don't have time. Building up to the final project, that's another goal. If you're stair-stepping them to some real final report, a lot of English classes might do that. We have a final paper at the end. So you're starting with, you know, the outline, and then you're getting to this step. So if you're building that type of large project, make sure that the assignments are building to that. Okay. Yes. Please. Yes. I did. Records of work. Yeah. Let me look ahead real quick and see if I have anything specific. Please ask your question while I'm doing so. Yeah. I do it in pieces. So for chemistry, the records of work that I'll take a look at is contributions to the wiki. Okay. And then I usually give one big ugly problem that I ask 3 or 4 of them as a group to solve and talk about. Okay. And it's usually a real world problem. My graduate thesis was on groundwater contamination, so I pull from that a lot because you know you teach what you know a little bit. And so I evaluate participation with very clear rubrics of what's expected. So contribution has, trying to think of my language again, it's on a further slide. It's substantive. It has citations to peer-reviewed resources. Like I'm looking for more than just, I agree, and hey, I found this website, bam. You know, there has to be something more. And I give examples. If you write, hey, I found this great website, you will get 1 point out of 5. Okay? And if that's all you want, great. You've done it. Okay? But they will also see, because it is in this open space where they can look at each other's work, they'll see what great looks like. Something they can strive for. Again, collaboration breeds better work as they're reviewing each other's work. My records are probably less than you would think they would be. Because once you're working with these students for a while, you'll see, okay, well this person did 1, 1, 1, 1, 2. Okay, well their grade for collaboration is going to be very low as opposed to someone who's always reaching out and always chatting. Let me, this is kind of steps right into this though. Giving clear instructions. Again, most important point. What do you want them to accomplish? What do you want them to accomplish? It's better to start from the end and work your way back. Okay? Think about what you want at the end. If they could give you the perfect thing, what does it look like? And now explain how they get there. Because sometimes you're like, oh no, I think they should do like a web quest, and maybe they should go and find this thing. Well, until you know what the end looks like, you're just struggling. So if you're just starting out and trying to think of a collaborative thing, start with what you want the end result to be. Work your way back with instructions and give it a try. Give it a try. Having quality rubrics. Boy, when I started teaching 12 years ago, that's a long time ago, there was, like if you said rubric in a room full of teachers, they'd be cringing. The first @ONE event I went to was filled with people from the school I was working for at the time. And said, oh, well, we need rubrics, and like people's shoulders went up, like their hackles literally went up. And that was, again, maybe 10 years ago, 8 years ago. But now we're all like, rubrics? Well, yeah, we use them all the time, at least many of us. Quality rubrics means including examples. So not, oh, you posted and ran, but if you type, here's my website, it was great, you're getting 1 point. If you type, here's my website, it was great, I used it for problem 17, that's 2 points, okay? If you type, so very clear rubrics. And it's a lot of work on the front end. Let's just all be honest, teaching is a lot of work on the front end. But the better you lay this out, the better the construction. You like that? The construction with the blueprints, yeah. Sorry. All right, another excellent tool, peer evaluation. How about make them do some of it? How about they value each other's contributions? Hey, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And at Calgary and Marcus, in the 400 level international economics class, I did give them a group project, and I gave 30% to the students to peer evaluation.
Fantastic.
And it was amazing. You know, they came off, they did such a good great project. But I was amazed to see how tough graders were.
So there's a lot of head shaking. So what she's sharing is that she offered a group project and 30% of the grade was based on peer evaluation of what you contributed. And that the students themselves were very tough graders of each other. That their evaluations were almost more serious than we'd be. We're like, that'd be pretty good. And they'd be like, no! Yeah.
Most important comment came from the international students. They said that after this group project, now we have new friends.
Oh, wow.
That was the most rewarding
wow.
to me, that, you know, as an international student.
For sure.
They love to do the group project.
So her experience was also that the international students themselves found the project even more valuable because it helped them make connections to a larger group, which was extremely important and valuable for them. I love that. I love that. Self-reporting is often higher in online classes than face-to-face. If I know you really well, I'll be really nice to you in my peer evaluation. But if you're some chick I know online and you didn't pull your weight, the instructor is going to hear about it. So this is one of those places where, because I've offered my environmental science project in face-to-face classes and online people are really honest. So there's some like fucking upside. An upside. Hooray! Yeah.
Do you allow them to see each other's evaluations of them, or do you not allow that?
I have not done that in the past. I have not shared the feedback. They have gotten a reported grade for that percentage of their grade, you know, what your peers said, but I have not posted that before. But that's an interesting idea. Has anybody done that where they shared? Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't work out so well.
It didn't work out so well. Yeah. I envision that makes more frenemies than anything. Oh, and it dumbs down the responses. Sure.
My group of about 30 students last semester, only 1 or 2 people were critical. Everybody else,
Interesting.
oh, pat on the back.
Right. And what's fantastic is in a group project, okay, if there's someone who's slacking, and you know it, because you know, usually at least 2/3 of the way through you're like, oh, that person's not even doing anything. And then the peer reviews come in, and 2 people are like, that guy is the top-notch A#1 head cat of our group. And you're like, those people weren't paying attention at all. Their grade just went down. I'm that girl who will grade you down for lying about other people if I know it. So, you know, another great tool, talk about honesty. How about self-evaluation? This is the only place I've ever found to use journaling, where you have an online journal component in your class. I know we need to get going. An online journal component in your class where you say, how do you think it's going? What have you been contributing? And then you give them feedback on that. That can be 10–15% of your grade. Again, we're decreasing your amount of work, let me just be honest, and also helping them see the value of this for themselves. See how they progress through the term. That was another one. Journaling, yeah. So this quick review. Simple assignment to start with. Okay, start simple. Giving them a format for a team charter. If you're going to do labels. Okay, you're the project manager, you're the report coordinator, you're the liaison, okay? Then you have descriptive terms. So you can go online and search sample team charter and find all sorts of examples. And you know what, I'll send some along to post up on the OTC website. I'll do that this evening when I get back. Just because I have them all bookmarked, but we're already out of time, unfortunately. Increasing the difficulty of the assignments as you go. Okay, that helps to build. That's what stops it from being busy work, by the way. Okay, I've neglected to say that before, but when you're building these assignments, the first one's like, hey, think of a great name for the class, or you know, your team name, and then by the end you're like, oh, hey, critically evaluate this sediment sample and tell me what you think. You know, you've built something, it stops being busy work. If you want a project that gets completed, then they reflect on peer evaluation, self-evaluation, and at that point, your whole project is now structured in such a way to encourage success. So we know it's important to collaborate. We're here collaborating today. That's what we're doing. There are definitely obstacles, but you have guidelines now to kind of help you just get over that hurdle, okay, of dealing with the things that make us hold our head in our hands, like, why am I doing this? Projects really have unlimited potential. Remember the giant slide of 50 options, right? That was just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much you can do. Look for tools. Use the tools we've discussed. Google Drive, MindMeister for brainstorming, CCC Confer for coordinating, Focus and Design. And remember, your project, your assignment is always a work in progress. I'm still twiddling. I try something new every time. I stick in a new variable, see how it works. I mean, it's what we do. It's never just done, right? We're never done. So I really hope that you found something valuable. This is my email. If you have questions, please email me. I'm working all summer. That's all of you. And then please don't forget to do your evaluations. I'll go back, but don't forget to do your evaluations. It's really important that they get feedback on how I'm doing so that I can get feedback, so that maybe they'll ask me back again. This is my email.
Include your name. It's a drawing you get free. You may get it. And that's yours.
Right, and I'm Kara, and if you see me, come say hi because I'm here by myself.